great to see so many people here, for one thing. And somebody else said, everybody's just got a smile on their face today. So it's great to have people walk in and be excited to be here. My name is Barb Gross, and I am the Events and Records Specialist for the Presentation Sisters. And I just want to welcome all of you to our 21st annual Sioux Falls Women's Lenten Retreat. It's amazing just to think that we've been doing this for 21 years. I looked in our database, and over 780 different women, that doesn't include new people today, have attended a retreat in Sioux Falls. And so kudos to all of you who have been here before. Thank you very much. You support us and you're coming back, and so that helps make our event successful, and we appreciate that. It's a beautiful morning, and I am just so tickled that so many of you have chosen to spend the morning with us, to share kindness and inspire hope with one another. Kindness can be found woven through many faith traditions. Both giver and receiver are affected by random acts of kindness and the amazing feeling that comes from sharing those acts. As we prepare to learn and be inspired by the message of kindness and hope, let us take time to pray with one another. God of love and mercy, we offer thanksgiving for the people in our lives who are easy to love. We are inspired and empowered by the way their kindness and simple presence can lift the burden of a difficult day. We also pray in gratitude for the people we find difficult to love, those who disapprove, ignore, or burden us. We ask your guidance and mercy when we struggle to see them through the light of your love. Even when the world around us is swirling and broken, thank you for being true, kind, and a foundation to lean on. Today, we boldly and humbly ask that you guide us with kindness, hope, and love, and that we may open our hearts to share these gifts with others. We ask these blessings of grace and hope as your love sustains us for another day. Amen. Amen. So getting back to the number of people in the room, how many first-time attendees do we have? I'm very curious. I knew there was a lot of names that I didn't recognize when you were calling in, so I'm tickled that you're here, and you've chosen the perfect year to come and have this be your first time with us. I just want to give a special shout out of thanks to the sisters and the co-journers that are in the room. So if they would just raise their hand just so you can see where they're at. If you have questions throughout the day, find one of them. They can surely answer your questions as good as I can. So I just thank them for their assistance with the retreat, their prayers. They obviously did a good job on the weather for today. Versus last year we had snow and cold, so I'm always grateful that in February we can find a day that is nice and that is good travel. Just a few housekeeping things. There is a coffee station in the back. If your pots run low, feel free to get up anytime or find one of us. We'll just be in the back. We can get you more coffee. There's some decaf in the back if anybody wants the decaf. At your places, there's just a bag that's filled with some goodies that you'll either use today or take home, and there's a registration slip in there, and I will put this basket over on the table over there. And so we want you to put your registration slips in here, and we'll draw the door prizes from that, so you want to make sure we've got some great door prizes to give away. So you want to make sure you put that, and that also gives us your name so we can send you information about our retreat next year. There is a name tag in there, so we ask that you do that. I see most of you have done that already. There is a little note card in here with hope, a little coloring. There's a couple different coloring things. We just felt like, as we approach the Lenten season, that it's always just so nice to take the time and to be contemplative and just to reflect. And sometimes having a little bit of coloring can just let go of all those thoughts in your head and find yourself in a good space. We also have our Lenten journey, or our Lenten brochure. We just mailed these out this week, so some of you may have gotten them in the mail already. But this is another coloring piece that we have. All of these along the side, that is an actual stained glass from our chapel. And so as you color those, it has special meaning for us at the Heights because it was taken from our chapel. So we invite you to take those home, even if you have one, or if you have a group at your church that you'd like to share with a group of ladies, we do have some more available today, so if it's something that you think you would like through your Lenten study, just ask us and we can get you some more of those. There is also some little stones on the centerpiece part. So each of you grab one of those before you head home today. They're just little worry stones is what they're called, but just when you're worrying and you're rubbing them and that you see the word hope, that you know that there is hope, no matter what you're dealing with in your life. And we invite you to meander over to the tables over to my left. We just have a table of some things from the sisters, some goodies that you can feel free to take. And then also Nicole has her books over there, so visit Andrea over there, and you'll want to get a book before you leave. She's got 2 of them over there, so make sure you get over there and say hi. So right now I'd just like to introduce Brooke Grote, who is our Director of Development for the sisters. She is in Sioux Falls, her office is here, so many of you probably recognize her from being out in the community, but she is just going to share a few words.
Thank you very much for being here. It's exciting to look around the room and see this many faces. As we raised our hand for first time, it was about half this size last year. So we're so excited. I just want to acknowledge Barb. She came from Aberdeen yesterday and she does all these details and she puts on all of her events and has so many great touches to try to make today such a meaningful morning for us. So if we could just pause for a second and give Barb a round of applause for her. Looking forward to the morning. So Barb called me last October-ish, and one of our conversations we always have throughout the year is, who can we try to see would be a good speaker for our Lenten retreat? And it's a fun conversation that goes back and forth, and last October I got a phone call that had so much energy through the line. It was contagious through the miles, and she was buzzing about Nicole. She had just came from a Friday lunch where Nicole spoke about kindness, and there was so much energy that came through, and we thought we really need to try to connect this. And so I was up in Aberdeen last November and had the pleasure of meeting Nicole. She came out to the convent and met several sisters, and we just had a lovely conversation. And I was so excited by her message and who she is, and we're just excited to be able to share that with you today. And one of the things Nicole asked was, what do you love about working for the sisters? And there's so many things I know our team has talked about, and the list can go on and on about the Heart for Mission and the work that they do, and all of these things. We could come up with a million reasons. But one thing that we always talk about is the value they put on us as a person, and how they really make us feel for who we are and not what we've accomplished that day. And it's something that I've really been thinking about a lot more, because I realize in past opportunities I've been in, I feel that I've been loved and valued, but I've often wondered if I wouldn't have performed to what I did, or if I would have made a mistake, would I still have been loved and valued? And I've never once asked myself that question after meeting the sisters and working for the sisters, because it's who they are. And I know so many of you in this room know that and have experienced that and feel that, and it's what gives me hope and inspiration every day to continue to do difficult things, because I see how the sisters handle that. And for those of you that are new, either to this retreat or have not met some of the sisters, I highly recommend you to come over and say hello and introduce yourself, because that feeling is just something that is indescribable, and it just really gets you going. And I see heads nodding for those of you that know exactly what I'm talking about. So one opportunity that we had this last fall with the sisters was to go to Fall Assembly, where Sister Lynn Levo visited about loss and talked a lot about the feelings of loss on your health, on loss of a loved one, loss of a physical home possibly, lots of different losses. And one thing that she talked about in that presentation was, when you're dealing with loss, looking at that virtue of hope and what that can do and what that can bring into your life. And that's when we really started thinking about 2020, what we wanted to focus on this year. And so we really were looking at hope and how can we bring more hope to other people. And one thing that Sister Lynn talked about was having that habit of asking yourself each day, and sometimes I do this multiple times in a day, but what is the opportunity here? And what that does to your mind as you're looking at a difficult situation and you think, gosh, that's not what I was planning on today. And that's not what I wanted to feel today, but really exploring what is the opportunity here and how many doors and windows that can really open when you're thinking about that. She talked about hope as a feeling of empowerment and a sense of purpose that focuses on the higher goals, and to know that we all have choices. And we all made the choice to show up and be present here today, and it's so exciting to see this room filled. So as we're moving through the morning and we're looking at our Lenten journey, we really want to invite you all to really reflect on how we're being called to be hopeful in ourselves and to other people. And when you're sitting quietly, just to think about that and see what moves within you. So thank you for being here today. I'm going to invite Barb back up here and she can introduce Nicole, and hope you all enjoy your morning. Thank you.
Well, as Brooke mentioned, it was a few months ago, and I did go to a small event that was being held by someone who always attends our events, and we've heard little bits and pieces of Nicole being in Aberdeen now, and that she had moved there, and so it was a great opportunity to hear her. And so I went to this event, and I think I sat there for maybe half a second and just kept thinking, she has to come to our event. We have to have her as a presenter. Her message that day was very simple, but very effective, and it was that you matter and that kindness is contagious. Simple words, simple thoughts, but something that we don't often think about. I was so fortunate that day I waited afterwards and I met Andrea, who is here with us today, and she's a part of Nicole's kindness team. And we talked afterwards, and I stayed and was able to meet Nicole and to talk to her and just kind of tell her what our events were like and if she would ever be interested. And I was just so blessed by that conversation with both of those ladies. They're truly have the biggest hearts, and I was just blessed. And I still, to this day, I think find it amazing that kindness is such a simple thing, but it can generate such special and unique, lasting friendships. So I thank you for that, ladies. Again, we are so excited to see all of you here, and that you are all just desiring to be transformed by hope and inspired by kindness in any way that you can, in any way that Nicole is ready to share with us. And I know that this day will be magical, and you are in for a treat as Nicole shares her words of faith and goodness. So Nicole is a national kindness champion, and is a sought-after speaker who enjoys sharing her expertise for using kindness to overcome all of life's difficulties. She is the author of the books Kindness is Contagious and Kindness is Courageous, both of which she has over here. And she's also host of the Kindness podcast. And she writes a weekly story for The Forum, which is a newspaper in Minnesota and North Dakota. She has also been on the Hallmark Home and Family Show, Good Morning San Diego, and The Morning Blend in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You will love hearing Nicole speak and finding out why she is blazing a new trail to crush the idea that kindness is not just some fluffy feeling, but she wants to share that the power of kindness can change your life if you are willing to let it. She has her broadcast journalism degree from the University of Wisconsin and has worked as a television anchor and reporter in Milwaukee and Madison, Wisconsin, and Fargo, North Dakota. As Miss Wisconsin 1997, she spent the year touring the state talking to kids and adults about overcoming crisis. Nicole recently moved to Aberdeen, yay, and has 3 children and is married to the Northern State University men's basketball coach, Saul. So please help me in welcoming, it's my privilege to welcome my friend Nicole.
I love that woman. How can you not love that woman? She's just, she makes you feel every moment like you matter, and I just love that. So, Barb and I have had many conversations about the weather because the weather can really mess up an event unlike anything else, right? And so she has assured me the sisters have been praying for the weather. Now, some people might think, well, if the sisters prayed for the weather, you know, whatever. No, I absolutely know about the power of prayer, and my husband now, thanks to me, knows about the power of prayer as well. He is a basketball coach, and for 10 years, he was either an assistant or a head coach at North Dakota State University in Fargo, North Dakota. So we lived there for 10 years. He had some success in the NCAA tournament, so we moved to Ohio, and he was the coach at Ohio University. Did not have as much success as we were hoping to have there, so we were out of a job for several months, and then the perfect blessing came into our lives, and that was Northern State University in Aberdeen. And so we are thrilled to be back in the Dakotas. This just feels like home. The power of prayer came up in our conversation back when Saul was a coach at North Dakota State University because they were playing Notre Dame. I'm glad that you get that. Yeah, Notre Dame is kind of a big school. It would kind of be a bit of an upset if, you know, a little old team from Fargo, North Dakota would happen to beat Notre Dame. And so I said to my husband, this is an important game to you, isn't it? And he said, yeah. And I said, I'm going to pray for you. And he said, that's great, but they actually have a priest that sits on the bench. And I said nothing. I said nothing. I went about my merry way and I prayed. North Dakota State University won that game. And I said to my husband, don't you dare tell me that my prayers don't have power. So I know the power of prayer, and I don't know why I just turned this sideways. I did not mean to do that. But I used that prayer when I was planning for this particular event, because I said to Barb, I would really like a verse. And she said, well, we have a lot of Lenten verses for you. They're in there, and you can, you know, pick one of those. And I said, no, I want one verse that I can sit down and bring to God and say, what do you want me to hear in this one verse, God? What is it you want me to know, and what is it you want me to share from that one verse? And I put that one verse at the top of your sheets that you'll find in your bag. So you want to get those out because we will be using those. When I first read it, I read it like this. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Romans 15:13. But the more that I looked at it, the more that I read it, I saw this incredible promise. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him. You want the joy and you want the peace. We want that. Well, we serve a God of hope. And he says, trust in me. Trust in me, and I can give you the joy and the peace that you want. And we'll talk about the other half of the verse. We're going to break this into 2 sessions, and we'll talk about the other half of the verse and what that eventually spoke to me personally in the second part of this session. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him. All I wanted in my life was joy and peace. And in 2011, I had everything I could have ever wanted. I had a husband who loved me, and I had a career that I just was in television, and I had just retired from. I like to say that I could stay home with my 3 beautiful, healthy children. And we lived in a nice house, and I had everything that I could want. And coming from a very dysfunctional childhood, if you would have said to me, this is what you're going to have someday, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have thought, no way would that be possible. And yet, there I was with everything I had ever wanted, and I was miserable. Joy and peace were nowhere to be found in my life. I was on the edge of what anyone would call an alcoholic. I was a drinker and a smoker and an overeater. I was angry at my husband all the time. And life felt passionless and pointless and mundane. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't find joy. And I couldn't find peace. And I thought it has to be hiding in something. It has to be in the next drink. It has to be in the new sweater I buy. It has to be in, you know, the new friend who can fill me up. It has to be in my husband who's not doing enough to bring me joy. Where was the joy and the peace? Well, I was living in that spot where I was feeling like life was very passionless and pointless when it was the summer of 2011. How many of you have ever been to Fargo, North Dakota? A few of you, okay. How many hot days does Fargo, North Dakota get every summer? 3. I heard 3. I heard 2. Me too. Okay, I lived there for 10 years. I'm sorry, you're both wrong. They get 1. 1 hot day every summer. And so everyone in the entire town goes to the Fargo public pool. So that's where I found myself 9 years ago. I had every tote bag I owned, and I was schlepping towels and flip-flops and snacks and sunscreen, along with my 3 small children. My daughter was 6, my son was 4, and my little one was 1.5. And so, oh, now you say, oh, now I know why she didn't have any joy and peace. I'm carrying all of them, and my children are coming along with me as we walk into the pool. And my 6-year-old daughter, very helpful, finds the one open lounge chair in the whole area. And it's next to a 17-year-old girl with long blonde hair wearing a shiny gold bikini. I am wearing my mom suit. You laugh. I haven't even explained what it is. You must own that. Yeah, it starts here and it goes all the way down there. And yeah. It shouldn't have mattered to me what Gold Bikini Girl was wearing or doing or anything about her. That shouldn't have mattered. But there was something about that moment that just made me go, great. I'm going to sit here and be reminded of everything I'm not for the next 3 hours. Well, I sit down in that lounge chair, and my 1.5-year-old sits at my feet because he wants a snack. And Gold Bikini Girl is there, and she's babysitting a 1.5-year-old little girl, and she wants a snack. So the next thing you know, the 2 kids are sitting at our feet, they're eating snacks, they're sharing snacks. Try this. Try this, you know, pudgy little fingers. It is pretty adorable. And I've noticed Gold Bikini Girl is doing sign language with the little girl that she's there watching. And I think, this is the world's best babysitter. If I can get her to babysit my children, they'll learn sign language, and I'll be able to figure out what I want to do to make myself happy. And just as I was thinking about that, my 1.5-year-old looks across the pool. He sees a woman with brown flippy hair in a mom suit, and he points and he starts yelling, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, that's my mommy!" But I panic, because that's not his mom. I'm his mom. I had 9 or 10 months to prove that I was his mom and all of the stretch marks. So I'm saying, no, honey, I'm your mommy. I'm your mommy. Gold Bikini Girl starts to laugh. And she said, that happened to us just the other day. She said, my daughter was looking out the window of our apartment, and she saw a woman with blonde hair getting into a car across the street, and she started to yell, "Mommy, mommy!" my heart sank, because this was not the world's best babysitter. This was the mom. And after talking with her more that day, I realized that she had far fewer resources than I had, a much smaller support system, and yet she was doing a better job of being full of joy and full of peace in that moment with her daughter. We walked out of the pool at the same time, and we walked into the parking lot, and I got in my brand new minivan. And I looked over, and she was getting into a compact car that had seen many previous owners. And something in my heart told me to stop and give her money. Now, I hadn't heard that voice before. I had grown up in a household that attended church, but I never really knew God. And I certainly never expected that God would talk to me or be involved in the details of my life, because he's got a lot of stuff to do, right? I thought, God's got to take care of all of this. Why would he care about taking care of all of this? But I heard that voice, and it was strong. And so I listened, and I reached into my purse, and I grabbed everything I had. It was 3 $20 bills. And I walked up to Gold Bikini Girl as she was buckling in her daughter. And I said, excuse me, I know that we're never going to see each other again, but I need to tell you something. My best friend died of cancer when we were 30. And she taught me during our friendship in her life the power of women to lift up women, and how we need to see each other, and we need to support each other, and we need to be each other's biggest cheerleaders. And I just want to tell you, I think you're a really great mom. And I know that you're going to be a powerful force for good in this community. And so I basically verbally vomited all over her shoes with all these words, and then I threw $60 at her, and then I stood there. She started to cry, and I started to cry, and we wrapped our arms around each other, and we stood in the parking lot, and we hugged. And then we left. And I got into my car knowing that I had given her enough money to put gas in her tank a few times and maybe take her kid to McDonald's. But by saying yes and just accepting my craziness, my act of kindness, my whim, she changed the trajectory of my life. I had gotten a call a few weeks before this interaction with the Gold Bikini Girl from the publisher of the Forum newspaper. And he said, I know that you just left the TV business, and we are starting a segment, a new section of the paper for women, and we're looking for female voices. Would you write for us? And I said, well, that sounds interesting. And he said, okay, well, since you were in TV news, would you write about politics? Thank you for getting why that's funny. Yeah, no, I politely declined. And he said, well, would you write about cooking? And I said, I've made lasagna twice, and both times forgot to put in the lasagna noodles. I may have been drinking, but we just talked about how we're not going to be judgy, right? And he said, okay, what about parenting? Will you write about parenting? And I said to him, what do you think? Raise your hand if you think. I said, yes, I will write about parenting. Well, you're right. I said, yes, I will write about parenting. When my children have launched from the house and are all over the age of 18. I don't know if I can do it yet. I don't know if I'm good at it yet. He threw up his hands and he said, when you figure out what you want to write about, you call me. And that's when I had this interaction with a girl in a shiny gold bikini. I went home and I wrote down what that felt like. It was so in me. I was so excited. I thought if everyone knew what this feeling felt like, everyone would do it and kindness would be contagious. We wouldn't care if we had any money left in our bank accounts because this feels great. And so I wrote it all up. I sent it into the publisher of the newspaper and I said, this is what I want to write about. I want to write about kindness. I want people to send me their stories of kindness, things they've done and how it made them feel, times in which kindness showed up at just the right moment. And I want to share those with people. Because to me, the world can feel like it has a black tarp over it. The black tarp is sort of like, when I see it in my mind, it's like separating us from God almost, like heaven. He is on that side and we are on this side of the black tarp. And it can look scary and sad and lonely. But every time I get to share a story of kindness, I feel like I'm taking a pin and pricking it into that black tarp, so that eventually the sky is filled with stars, with bright points of light. And then sometimes, you know, we'll get to just dig our nails in and rip a little bit. And then we can really see God shining on us. And so my goal is to just get rid of that black tarp altogether by sharing people's stories of kindness. To be able to prove to people that He is the God of hope. And when we trust Him, we are filled with joy and we are filled with peace. So the publisher of the newspaper said, sure, we'll give you a weekly column. They called it Kindness is Contagious. And it still runs 9 years later. I still write it. So you can still send in your stories. That is not a subtle hint. That is a direct command. Send in your stories. And it runs in newspapers now in North Dakota and Minnesota. So I have seen the power of kindness in my own life, the transformation that happens. But I would like you to just take a moment in your minds, because I wonder if some of you are in some small way where I was 9 years ago. Here are some examples. You know, maybe you go to a job all day long and you hold it together so well, and then you come home and you just on the people you live with. If you don't know what is, well then you're a better person than I am. Because maybe you feel like if people were nicer to you, then you would have an easier time being nicer to them. Maybe you live in a great house, but you wish it was a little bit greater. Maybe you have beautiful, healthy kids, but you wish they didn't constantly need something from you. Maybe you have grandchildren who will only eat chicken tenders, and it drives you insane that their parents don't make them eat any vegetables. Maybe you have a closet full of clothes, but you spend money on something you don't need because you want to just simply feel rewarded for making it through the day. Maybe you find yourself gossiping, talking about things that are none of your business, but you join in because that's what everyone else is talking about, and you get this strange sort of internal adrenaline rush when you're talking about things like that. Maybe someone has gossiped about you, or in some other way has wronged you, and you have forgiven them, but you cannot forget. On your sheet, question number 1 is, what is your mental block or fleshly battle? And I would like you to actually take a moment and write it down. But then, because there's people sitting close to you, and sometimes these are not things that we wish everyone would know about, I want everyone, after you have written it, I want everyone to go through and do one of these on top of what you've written so nobody else can look over and read it. Okay? I want everyone to write it and then I want everyone to cross it off. Okay? So please take a moment and do that. We're going to take one more minute to write it down and then scribble it out. She's like, I'm out. Yeah. I should say to you, since we're all women and we try to be like uber polite sometimes, if you have to go to the bathroom, get up and go to the bathroom. If you feel the need to take a little nap because some small person kept you up all night, close your eyes and just listen. That's fine. If you need more coffee, go get it. You are not going to hurt my feelings. You're not going to throw me off. I've had people do far worse in presentations. Andrea, the first presentation, I don't know where she went now, but the first presentation she ever went to, halfway through she got up and walked out. I was like, I really thought she was into this with me. Like, I didn't know her at the time, but I could see from her facial expressions that she was listening to me. And so when she just got up and walked out, I was like, must have to go to the bathroom. But then she really didn't come back for quite a while. And what I found out, we were at a cancer event, and Andrea and I both had breast cancer. And what I found out was that she actually went and bought a book for everyone who was there. So she wasn't trying to, ignore what I was saying. She was trying to boost people up with what I was saying. So thanks for that, Andrea. So the point of that whole thing is if you have to go to the bathroom, go. Well, I can tell you give it back. I don't know how I know that, but I do. Okay, so you've written down what is your mental block or your fleshly battle. You've braced it out. And now I want to tell you the lesson that Gold Bikini Girl taught me. This is a controversial statement. Are you ready? Kindness isn't about them. It's about you. Kindness isn't about the other person. It's not about the person you're helping. Kindness is about you. Now, I grew up in, like I said, in a family that went to church, and I remember sitting and hearing these verses, whether it was from my grandmother or I had 11 aunts and uncles. We had a big Catholic family, and I remember hearing things like, don't let your left hand see what your right hand is doing, or there was something with that. I remember that one. It's better to give than to receive. Have you heard that one? How about this? Take care of the widows and orphans. Give to the one who begs. Do not refuse the one who borrows. Right? You remember those? So those all kind of seem like they come from the place of just giving because that's what God commands us to do. But then the question behind that is, why? Why would God command us to do that? Is He not able to take care of His people? Does He need us to take some of the weight off of His shoulders? I don't think so. I think God is big enough to do all of it himself without us. And yet he commands us to be kind. And so we can look at that and we can say, okay, kindness isn't about them, but God tells us to serve them. So what is this? Why is there a paradox in there? And this is what I've found. That kindness is like a secret passageway. And when we enter the secret passageway to help another person, God meets us there and hands us our blessing. And we might not enter that secret passageway because we're looking for God's blessing, but he meets us there anyway. Kind of seems like a secret, but it's not, because it's in the Bible. And it's all over the Bible. And you can see some of the, under number 2, some of the verses. From Luke 6:35, love your enemies, do good to them, lend without expecting to be repaid. Then your reward from heaven will be very great. God says, hey, do what I want you to do. Do what I'm commanding you to do. And then he's honest enough to say, I'm going to give you a reward for that. Proverbs 11:17 says, those who are kind benefit who? Themselves. Acts 20:35, it is more blessed to give than to receive. We will have the bigger blessing as the giver than the person even receiving. That's wild. It's wild. And I would like for you, under verse 2, to write down or circle which of those verses really speaks to you. And if there's another one, I left a little blank line there for you to write one that maybe even speaks to you more in the way that God either gives us a command or a promise. Does anyone want to share a verse that speaks even more to them? One that I didn't write on there that you feel like, oh, this one, Nicole, yes.
I came to bring you life, abundant life.
I came to bring you life, abundant life, not life where you feel like, I got to do this again. That dishwasher constantly needs to be unloaded and reloaded and I came to bring you life, abundant life. So, God didn't command us to be kind because he can't handle the job on his own. He didn't command us to be kind because, somebody out there is going to need help and we're the only one who can help them and he doesn't have time to get to them. He commands us to be kind because he knows that's how he created us. We are created to be kind, and I love it when Scripture and science hold hands. I love that. There are 4 feel-good chemicals that are released into our bodies when we do an act of kindness, or when we receive an act of kindness, or when we see an act of kindness around us. 4 feel-good chemicals. The first one are your endorphins. Endorphins, if you have daily aches and pains, or you feel like you are weak in your strength or just don't have enough energy, then endorphins are your friend, because endorphins are the ones who are, that's your body's natural painkiller, and it releases those feelings of strength and energy when endorphins start flowing through your body. It's also the fight or flight chemical. The second is serotonin. And serotonin is your body's natural anti-anxiety medication. Serotonin is that feel-good chemical that heals your wounds, it calms you down. And researchers at the University of British Columbia found that people with very, very high levels of anxiety who were put on a prescription to do an intentional act of kindness 6 days a week came back and reported much lower levels of anxiety. They tested them before, they tested them after, and what they found is by intentionally doing an act of kindness, by getting your eyes off of yourself and putting them on to somebody else almost daily, by making that commitment, we heal ourselves with the serotonin flowing through our bodies. The next one is oxytocin. So if anyone wants to live longer, if anyone wants to lower their blood pressure, then you want the oxytocin. Because oxytocin is the cuddle hormone. It makes you feel loved, like you're getting a great hug, but it also dilates your blood vessels. So you have a physical reaction to when you're kind. And the fourth is dopamine. Now, dopamine is the reason why I love Ben and Jerry's. Dopamine sends a signal to the brain that you are actually the recipient of the act of kindness. Dopamine lights up the brain's pleasure center, and it says, oh, you're being cared for, you're being gifted with a new shirt that you just bought yourself, or the pint of Ben and Jerry's as you watch television at night. You know, it's that feeling of being rewarded. And it gives us the helper's high, which the helper's high is a term that someone came up with in the 1990s. Have you ever heard of a runner's high? Like you run and you feel really great? Well, the helper's high is like that, and that's thanks to dopamine. You do an act of kindness like I did with Gold Bikini Girl, and I had this, wow, I am on fire. I could light up the world right now. That's the helper's high. So, look at number 3. Which feel-good chemical do you want more of in your life? Endorphins? The painkiller with more energy? Serotonin? Some of you are just going to circle all 4 of them. That's fine. So can we agree that God created us to be kind and shows us that through Scripture and through science? Can we agree on that? I don't hear you. Yes. Oh, wow. Barb, I did not know that they did really talk. If you ask them to talk, that's great. Okay, yes. So now here's a question. How do we do that? Do we need to have a calendar that says, today you're going to give flowers to a friend, and tomorrow you're going to send a card, and the next day you're going to send a text, and the day after that you're going to spend $5.50 by buying someone Starbucks? Do we need that? Some people love that. Some people do need that. It's a great way to get started. You know, go online and ask Google, what act of kindness can I do today? And Google will tell you, 1.4 million acts of kindness that you can do today. But I'm going to give you some wide guidelines. And the first wide guideline, well, I'll tell you all 3. It's personal, intentional, and consistent. Okay, here's the first one. Personal. Some of you are really generous in writing checks to the homeless shelter, to your church. You're very generous in writing checks. Keep doing that. That's important in our community, that we share what we have. Some of you are really generous with your time, and you will go into the church kitchen before the speaker arrives, and you will make 748 deviled eggs for people, right? You will bake dozens of cookies. You will make sure the people who are coming feel loved because they are fed. And then, before anyone arrives, you will run away so you don't have to see anyone. Keep doing that. That's important. Write the checks. Make the food. Work behind the scenes. But if you really want to get those feel-good chemicals flowing, if you really want the life-transforming benefits of kindness, then sometimes step out of your comfort zone. Do something that requires your adrenaline to get running a little bit. Talk to someone who seems different from you. Go find a girl in a shiny gold bikini and say, what's life like for you? One of my favorite stories of this was when I was in Florida on a family vacation. We were taking the kids to visit the mouse, Disney World. And we went for dinner one night off of the property. And so we went to a restaurant that was next to a Walgreens because I needed to get some sunscreen. Which is funny because it was raining when I went to that Walgreens. But I knew like maybe the sun will come back out at some point. So I go into the Walgreens, my family goes to the restaurant. I walk out of the Walgreens to go to the restaurant, and I notice there's a man sitting against the wall under the awning. And it looks like he'd been sitting there for quite a long time. He was just doing a crossword puzzle. And he had his bags next to him. And I kept walking, and I went into the restaurant, and I sat down. And my husband looked at me, and he said, "What?" And I said, "Well, there's a guy up there," and he's like, "Go." Because now, after 9 years, we've been doing this enough that he gets it. When I get something in my head that I feel like the Holy Spirit has told me to do, I cannot ignore the voice of the Holy Spirit. I cannot do it. And it becomes louder the more I follow that voice. So it's awesome. It's like every day is an adventure. What are we going to do today? But on this particular day, I said, there's this guy, and he says, go. And so I walk out there, and I say, hi, my name's Nicole. What's your name? And he said, I'm Steve. And I said, well, nice to meet you, Steve. I said, you need help with your crossword? And he goes, I think I got it. It's okay. I said, Steve, my family is next door, and we're eating and finishing up our meal, but I was wondering if I could order something for you. Would you like a hamburger or something? And he says, no, I'm fine. I said, okay. I said, so just out of curiosity, what is the clue for 6 across? And so we start talking about that, and I said, where are you from? And he said, I'm from Illinois. And I said, whoa, what brought you to Florida? And he talked about his son. And, it was maybe a 3-minute interaction where we talked, and he asked about where we were from and what we were doing, and, wanted to know about how many kids I had, and it was short and sweet. And I walked back, and just before I was walking back into the restaurant, I said, are you sure that I can't get you something? And he says, well, hamburger would be really nice. And I said, how about some fries and a drink? And he's like, that would be awesome, thank you. And so I go back in, I place the order, and when the order is ready, I tell my family I'm going to go out and deliver it. Anybody want to come? And my son, who was about 12 at the time, he's 14 now, he said, he goes, oh, I'll go with you, Mom. So we walk out there, and I have the opportunity to introduce my son to Steve. And Steve talks to my son about airplanes, because Steve loves airplanes, and he's so grateful for this food. And I was able to connect with someone who felt different and who can sometimes feel scary. Different can sometimes be scary. And when we feel fear, we often shut ourselves out. But I was able to just feel so inspired by humanity and just loved. I just felt like, people are good. I love to love people. But then I also got the opportunity to teach my son that different doesn't mean, somebody who's sitting under an awning, maybe down on their luck, that doesn't mean they're dumb. It doesn't mean they're felons. It doesn't mean and even if they are, who cares? Nothing was going to happen to us in that moment other than just to connect with another human. And that was the most powerful part of our vacation. I can't remember any rides we went on that vacation. I don't remember what hotel we stayed at, but I remember Steve. And I remember the look in my son's eyes and the gratitude I could see oozing from him when we got back in the car. So please continue to write those checks. Continue to make the brownies and the cookies and the deviled eggs. Bless you. But I encourage you to step out of your comfort zone and make your act of kindness personal. Make it involve another person, maybe one that you don't know very well. Bless you again. Do you need a tissue? Intentional. We talked about personal, intentional, and consistent. The second is intentional. We want to make that act of kindness something we meant to do. So how do we do that when we go through life? Because I'm a mom of 3 kids. I work, my husband works, and so it can be like, this is how fast we go every day. Maybe a little faster, but my boots won't let me go that fast. And so I can skim by everything else in life because I'm moving so fast. Anyone else ever felt that way? Like I want to be kind, but I'm busy. I'm doing this and this and this. Write it down. Put it in your calendar. Make an appointment with yourself. In my phone, we have these great cell phones now that will tell you everything that you need to do, including going to the bathroom or whatever. I put in my phone every Tuesday a reminder that says, call Catherine. Catherine is my niece, and she's a freshman in college. And I thought, you know what, this is the perfect year for someone, especially women of God, right? People who have a faith base, to reach out to someone once a week. And sometimes I'll call her and check in and let her, you know, tell me what's happening in college, because that's fun. But sometimes I'll just send her an inspirational quote. Sometimes I'll just say, hey, I'm thinking about you, hope all is well. Call me if you need anything. But when we put it in the calendar, when we make an appointment, it happens. If I just said, you know what, I should really call Catherine more since it's her freshman year of college. I should really check in with her more often. Am I going to do it? No, I should. Best intentions. I should. So instead of shoulding, do it. That almost came out wrong. I'm very sorry. I've never said that phrase before. The third thing, aside being personal and intentional, is to be consistent. Now, I really feel like that's what changed my life way back 9 years ago, was the consistency of the kindness. Because guess how often you have to write a weekly newspaper column? Every week. The deadline shows up every week. Whether I had a kindness story to share or not, I've got to write about something. And so I became very, very systematic about kindness. I looked for it everywhere. I either did an act of kindness on purpose. I would notice when people would do even the smallest acts of kindness for me. And I became a witness to all of the things happening around me. If I was in the grocery store, I would never walk out without having noticed a time when somebody reached something on a shelf for someone or paid for something. You can see it when you're looking for it. So the funny thing is, I didn't realize, is that we train our brains every day on how to act the next day. Now, I even asked the person, the researcher who told me this, I said, okay, but is this like you can't teach old dogs new tricks? Like, is there an age limit? Because I'm 44, and I'm thinking, you know, I might be on the ledge of learning anything new. And he said, absolutely not. Until the day you die, your brain is forming new pathways. Research that's been done on anger pathways at the University of Wisconsin is really interesting because it shows the more you light up those anger pathways, the more effective they become at getting you to the anger next time. Scary, right? But the reverse is true. Your brain knows how to react to something tomorrow based on how you react to it today. And so, the same goes with kindness. When you look for the kindness around you, you are so so intentional and consistent about that kindness, your brain will naturally see it. Okay, what might that look like? Okay, let's say we went to a birthday party, and I said to you before the birthday party, can you please write down a list of 10 things that were bad about the birthday party, so that when I throw a birthday party, I make sure I don't do this. And you come out with a list for me, wouldn't you? Because you're very helpful. And your list might say the cake was stale. The colors clashed in the decorations. The music was far too loud. And, you know, they didn't have a piñata, right? You would pick it out for me. But what if I sent you into that exact same birthday party and I said, can you write me a list of 10 things that were awesome about this party so I make sure that I do them? And you would have said the frosting on that cake was delicious. And you would have said, oh, they had the cutest balloons with little sayings on them. And they had a little centerpiece for each person that said hope on it. And you would come out of that exact same birthday party with a list of things that went right. And that's how it works in our lives. You wake up in the morning, you put your feet on the ground, and you're either going to make a list of everything that's going right or everything that's going wrong. And so kindness isn't an act we do, it is a state of mind. Kindness is that place where we live, where we see it, we notice it, we're doing it, and we're grateful for it because we can see it happening around us. So, personal, intentional, and consistent. Okay, now if you, well, let's look at this. When have you stepped out of your comfort zone in kindness? So, you know, I talked about sometimes we write the check, sometimes we make the food, sometimes we are behind the scenes. But I would like you to think of one time in your life where you stepped out of your comfort zone to be kind to someone else. A time in which you were the giver, and it made you a little nervous. And I would like you to write it down under number 4. Write yours down. Good. You knew it. You knew it. I love that. Yeah, sometimes when I just start talking about it, we have to, right away in our brains, like, oh, I know what she's talking about because I did that once. I felt that. And yeah, I should say, sometimes we step out of our comfort zone for kindness, and it goes wrong. Has kindness ever gone wrong for me? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm still standing here, and I'm still loving kindness. And, you know, if it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to work out or thought it would work out, if I was burned, well, that's because, you know, we have a great God in this world, but we also have a sneaky enemy. So, you know, I'm not going to let him tell me that I'm no longer going to step out of my comfort zone to do an act of kindness just because once in a while he likes to snake his way in. Okay, who wants to share? We're going to do just one, but I'd love for just one person to share a time when they stepped out of their comfort zone, which you're going to have to do right now. It's like a double one. Oh, this little hand went up right away. Okay, that I need it. And I'm gonna, we have another mic, but I'm just gonna go like this for a second, honey, so we can hear you better. Hold on. What is your name?
Cariella,
Hi, Kiriana. How old are you?
12. Oh wait, 11, I'm almost 12.
June 5th. Okay, June 5th, all right. Happy birthday on June 5th. What happened that felt out of your comfort zone?
So while I was walking home to school yesterday, I walked home and I saw this man. He was at this little shop and he was washing the windows. And so while I was walking home from school, I said hello to him, and we had like a small conversation. He asked, what are you doing at school? And I'm like, just stuff. And then we ended up having a conversation for a little while until I got my way, and then I saw another person walking a dog. And then when I got home, when my mom got home, which was like 1 minute after I got home, we met this dog and this one person, and we came to pet the dog because my sister and brother went with her. And then we went to the this like chiropractor thing, and then we met the lady, and we all had a session. And it was actually pretty fun because I got to meet a lot of new people at least.
Did it feel out of your comfort zone to talk to somebody that you didn't know before, to talk to a stranger?
It did. Like, like I just like, hi.
And how do you think that person felt when they were doing a job like washing the windows and you just noticed them?
I mean, he gave me a warm smile, so I mean, I felt happy that I could make someone smile.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, if any of you have a mama bear in you, then you might feel what I felt when she started telling the story. No, don't talk to a man! No, don't talk to a strange man! Run home, lock the door! I have friends who love to pick up hitchhikers. I have friends who will bring people home to stay overnight in their homes. I have friends who do drug rehab in their backyard. We all have to know where our level of comfort is. And so I am not saying, why are you videotaping me right now? Oh, I was like, am I saying something right now that you know needs to hear? Don't pick up hitchhikers. God places in our hearts and in our minds, each one of us, something different. The Holy Spirit speaks to each one of us differently. So, when, just because I have a friend who does drug rehab in her backyard, like that's not my jam. That's not going to work for me, and it's not going to work for my family. That doesn't mean I'm not kind. So please listen to the prompting of the Holy Spirit. And I have no doubt, sweetheart, that you would be a good judge of, if that got to a scary situation. She looked at that man who was washing the windows. She smiled at him, he smiled, it was fine. It's like we all live on Sesame Street, and it's good. But I have no doubt that if that would have felt creepy to her, she would have bolted. And it would have been, So, but I just want to use that as an illustration to please understand that not every act of kindness, not every commission is your mission, okay? Not everyone. But listen and learn to work with the Holy Spirit and with God on what He's calling you specifically to do when you step out of your comfort zone. Okay, now if you're wondering if an act of kindness like, giving $60 to a girl in a gold bikini really matters, I'd like to tell you the rest of that story. My husband, about a year after, was at McDonald's, and he called me and he said, Nick, shiny gold bikini girl is here. So I asked the obvious question, which is, how do you know? Is she wearing shiny gold bikini? No. He said, no, she's here, and I know he had never seen her, never met her. He goes, I just could tell from the way you explained her that it's got to be her. She's here with a little girl that's about our youngest age. She does have blonde hair, but she's so involved and interactive in this little girl's life that it's got to be her, Nick. And she's just the peace and the joy. He saw it coming off of her. And he said, I was eavesdropping. And he said, I know that she comes every Tuesday. I heard her tell somebody she comes every Tuesday after she does a class at the YMCA with her daughter, a Mommy and Me class. And so, of course, the next Tuesday I was camped out at McDonald's just to see if he was right. And he was. And I saw her and I was like, oh, that shiny gold bikini girl. I was all excited to see her. And I thought, she's going to see me and I'm going to see her and we're going to just, oh, besties. Like, isn't it great that we met? And that didn't happen. She did not recognize me. She just went about her own thing, you know, with her daughter and eating and all of that. And I sat on the other side of the playland and I just kind of waited for an opportunity when I could, like, recognize me? You recognize me? No? Maybe? So I waited for this opportunity when I could actually approach her. And that was awkward because I went up to her and I said, hi, I don't know if you remember me, but I sort of like met you at the pool last summer and we had this conversation and she's looking at me like, not ringing a bell, not ringing a bell. And then I'm like, yeah, and then we went to leave about the same time and I gave you $60 and then she was like, yeah, I remember, that was really nice of you. And then I said, no, just wait. You saying yes to my act of kindness transformed my life. I said, within 1 year of meeting her, I quit drinking, I quit smoking, I lost 30 pounds, I fell in love with my husband, I realized that God was a very present source of joy and peace for me. And I started writing this newspaper column. Have you read it? It's called Kindness is Contagious. And I even wrote one about you, and it was the first one. And she was like, no, I haven't actually seen it. So I'll read it to you. So I pull out my phone and I start to read it to her, and I'm crazy embarrassed about the amount of times I call her gold bikini girl. We had a fun conversation, and I was just able to thank her. Because sometimes we need to accept other people's kindness, right? We need to accept that from people. And she accepted mine, but I was the biggest recipient in that, for sure. And so does kindness matter? Absolutely. Does it have the power to transform a life? Absolutely. So when we begin to trust God, the first part of that verse, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him. Kindness, for me, looking for kindness helps me trust in God, that there is good in this world and that He is present in this world. That is how I see God. It's how I love on others. And so, yes, trusting in Him filled me with all joy and all peace, and it changed my life. But we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about how do we then overflow with hope, and what does that do to the people around us. So there's snacks, and Barb's coming back up. Turn off my light so we don't. I know.
Yes, we will take about a half-hour break-ish. We need to take time to get this large crew through the line, but Sister Barbara is here, and she will be my bathroom patrol. There is a sign on the men's bathroom, so feel free to use, that was a major concern when we found out that we had this many people, and that reminds me, I need to give a huge shout out to Diane in the back for this space. Just her big heart and her warm welcoming, she has done everything that I needed to make this a success. And this space, I just love this space, although usually we're only half a room, so this is pretty major. When we walked in yesterday, the whole room was set up. But thank you. But yeah, we will just go through the lines. There's 2 lines, and so just make your way, and we'll come back after you finish. I do have some gluten-free things. I know there was some people that needed gluten-free, so I do have those up on the counter, so just make sure you ask.
Yeah, let me just, well, I want to do up high because I'm worried that not everyone will be able to see. So if I don't spill anything, have I mentioned that I'm not a great cook? But here's the benefit. I've also not been drinking today. We're empty. Doesn't matter how beautiful we are when we're empty, because we're really not doing much of anything for anyone this way. But then what if we put in the Father? What if we just sat down with some quietness and let the Father just pour into us? Maybe we read our Bible. Maybe we meditate on a verse that is really special, or one that we don't understand. And what if we put the Father in there? And what if we then just add a little bit of the Son? You know, what if we remember that He literally died for each one of us? And we let that settle in with gratitude that He has created a place for us. And so what if we fill up with the Father and the Son? And then, you know, that verse says, so that you may overflow with hope. By your own power? Never, no. By the power of the Holy Spirit. What if we get the Holy Spirit in us and we fill up? What happens? We overflow. And hopefully we don't overflow onto the floor, but look at, I can stop pouring and it is still overflowing, right? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit fill us when we're empty so that we can overflow onto other people. And that overflow is not toxic juices and negativity overflowing. It's not our bad day overflowing onto them. It's our kindness and our love overflowing onto them. There's a singer named Toby Mac. And I saw him in concert once. And he said there's no such, he said there's no such thing as a neutral interaction. And I thought, is that true? Because I feel like I've had a lot of neutral interactions. You know, if somebody goes into the bathroom, I go out of the bathroom, you know, I check out with the cashier at the grocery store and I go on my merry little way. But he argues that every interaction leaves an impact that is either positive or negative. And if you live in that space in your mind, that every interaction you have with someone is going to be positive or negative, it changes the way that you do life. It changes the way you do kindness, because you don't want to be the person that leaves the negative interaction. And so, you know, when you're going through daily life, what that might look like is, you know, let's talk about the cashier. I'm checking out my groceries. You know, maybe the cashier doesn't say to me, "How are you today?" Maybe the cashier is tired. She's been on her feet all day and she's not really super happy about engaging in conversation with yet another person. So maybe she just slides my things and says that'll be, you know, $14.78. and I put my card in, and I walk away. I don't have a great feeling about humanity when I walk away. I maybe, if I'm easily offended, might even think to myself, well, she was kind of rude. I don't really want to shop at that store again. I'm going to go to this store because they're always friendlier there. Or maybe I'm the cashier and I think, no one sees me. No one notices me. What I do doesn't matter. I just scan things and I go. And so that ends up being a neutral interaction when it could very easily be a positive interaction, right? Even if she doesn't say to me when I walk up to the counter, how are you doing today? I, as the person who's shopping there, can say, hi there, how are you doing today? I bet it's hard to be on your feet all day long. And then we have a little exchange. I pay my bill, I walk out. But in that tiny exchange, I know that I tried to bring light into her life. And maybe because I kind of woke her up out of her monotony of what she's doing, maybe the next person in line she looks at and says hi to. And so maybe there's a ripple effect when it comes to our kindness. But when we look at life as this idea that you're either going to have a positive interaction with someone or a negative interaction, it will wake you up out of the monotony. It wakes me up and it says, okay, I have one shot with this person. So if somebody, lets the door slam in my face in the bathroom, or if somebody holds the door, I can say, well, thank you. Or, when you're walking through a doorway, okay, I gotta fix this. That's not gonna work for me. I didn't even change my microphone, so I don't know why it's deciding to. I'm good. When we're walking through a bathroom, we're maybe this far away. When you walk through any doorway with another person, you're maybe this far away. So how can we come this close and not say, hi, have a great day? We are so close and sometimes missing the boat. So when you can remind yourself that there is no such thing as a neutral interaction, it really does change the game. Okay, I'm going to attempt to set this over here. Everyone's nervous for me. Oof, we did it. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Wait, I need you to pause because this is going to be good. Barb, thank you. No. It's going to be so good. We have to have everyone, and everybody has different hearing levels, and so we need everyone to hear this. It's going to be good.
So I shop. Oh gosh. All right, I shop. I was at a store down in Phoenix, and I walked in and the lady said, how are you today? And I said, fine, thank you, how are you? And she said, well, thank you so much for asking. And I just looked at her and I was like, well, okay. But I made contact with her and I said, how are you? And I said, well, that's the appropriate response. I said I was good and I want to know how you are too. And she goes, you wouldn't believe working here, it's my job. People walk into the store, I'm supposed to say, how are you today? Can I help you with something? And people just shut them off. And she said, all day long, it's my job to say that. But out of the day, maybe one or two come in like you and actually genuinely ask me how I am. So that was just something that happened, and I was thinking about it when you said, just to say, to initiate it with the cashier, but if the cashier asks how you are, to literally just say, I'm fine, thank you, or it's a crappy day, but I hope yours is going better, or how are you? to like reciprocate that it isn't, because it's robotic for them. They are told they have to do it, right? And if they don't, they're not providing good customer service. But are we providing good Catholic customer service if we don't genuinely ask them how they're doing?
good. That's good. And if we're all sisters in Christ, then really it shouldn't be you're the person who serves and I'm the person who receives, or vice versa, right? The server in the restaurant is your sister. It's not, ta-da, you get to serve me today because I'm on a date, you know? Okay, so I want to talk about how easy kindness can be. Because sometimes it seems like it's grand. It seems like it's a weight loss plan or a new monthly budget plan or something that's hard and it's easy. And so we're going to play a little game. And so I need 1, 2, 3, let's do 4 volunteers. I need 4. Okay, you? Liva, do you want to be a volunteer too? Are you feeling shy or do you want to be a volunteer? Okay, come on up. And then I thought I saw another hand over here. Yep, I would love for you to be a volunteer. And Harley. Oh, we'll do 5. And you too. Come on up. Okay, so Harley, can you stand over here? Is it Ann? Ann, can you stand over there? You're Lori. Can you stand over there? Mila, is it Mila? Am I saying that right? Mila, can you stand over there? And Cariel, can you stand over there? I actually need 1 more. Okay. And can you stand over in the back over there? Okay. This is going to require you to be out of your comfort zone momentarily. We are going to play a game from your childhood. It is called Heads Up, Set It Up. So you are going to put your head down on top of the, perhaps stinky tablecloth. I don't know where they came from. They look nice, but you never know. So they were sitting in the living closet. So you are going to put your head down. You're going to close your eyes and you're going to put your thumb up and out where someone could touch it. And everyone's going to do it. Dorothy? And you're going to keep your head down and your thumb out. If you're cheating, you're in big trouble.
You are in church. Cheating.
Yeah, this is holy ground. No cheating. Okay, close your eyes. Thumbs up. Volunteers who are standing, please go around the room somewhere and put down 1 thumb. Anywhere you want in the room. You don't have to stay in your section. 1 thumb. And once you've picked your 1 thumb, please go back to your spot. Did you do it?
Yeah, I did.
Harley, did you do it? Okay. And Lori? Mila?
Got it?
You did yours? Okay. All right. You can all sit up and open your eyes. Sister just said, oh, thank God. She may have rolled her eyes, but I don't know. Okay, if you had your thumb pressed down, I would like you to stand up. If your thumb is pressed down, please stand up. All right, now here's what we're going to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 volunteers. Okay, so the numbers are working out. That's good. I would like you to guess who put your thumb down. And we're going to start with you. Who do you think of the volunteers put your thumb down? Sister Lucille. What's your name? Cariella, did you do it? Nope. Don't tell us who it was, but you did not do it. Okay. You may sit down, you lose. No prize. Joanne, who do you What is your name? Terrence? Terrence. Okay, Terrence, who do you think? Harley? No, sorry. Very difficult, isn't it? Who do you think? Cindy, who do you think put your thumb down? Lori. No, it was not Lori. Okay. Got a great group of guessers here. Wanda, who do you think put your thumb down? Soft feet, strong hands.
Mila.
Mila, was it you? No. Okay. Sean is my new friend from the bathroom, by the way.
Okay, I think it was someone shorter, so I leaned over here and hold on.
Oh, even better! Okay, winner, chicken dinner. Awesome. Okay, I need the rest of you. Okay, so I need the rest of you to. You can sit down. I'll give you a prize in a second. I need you to tell me whose hand you can point to the person. And Wanda. Okay. Mila, whose thumb did you put down? Right there, Joanne. Is it Joanne? Is that, yeah, okay. Carrie Ellen, who did you put down? Taryn. Harley, who did you put down? Sister Lucille. Awesome. And Anne.
The girl in the brown and
Right, what, tell me your name again? Cindy. You put down Cindy's. Awesome. Okay. I've got I've got a prize for you, Sean. This is a kindness rock star. Isn't he cute? It's a little rock star because you are a kindness rock star. I used to throw kindness rocks. You know those pretty rocks that yeah. And then my legal counsel suggested I stop doing that because people kept going to the ER. So I didn't throw kindness rocks, I'm kidding. But I did throw kindness ducks because it's all about kindness. And when I throw it, I often have to yell, duck! That's a true story. Volunteers, you can sit down. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, I want you to think, if you were one of those people with your head down, other than Sister Piel, other than Sister Piel, who sat up and said, thank God. If you were one of those people who had your head down, I'm curious, what were you thinking? What? I heard someone say it. Pick me, or don't pick me. When your head's down and your thumb's up, she doesn't want to be picked. Okay, all right, well, future reference, if you ever play Heads Up 7-Up with her, don't pick her, okay? Pick her, yes, pick her. The ones who don't want to be picked are the ones who need to be picked. I love to play this game because I feel like when our heads are down and our thumbs are up and we're waiting, we're in anticipation of what may or may not happen, I oftentimes think, pick me, I want to play, pick me. And I feel like that's what kindness is. That we walk around in a world of people who are simply saying, pick me, notice me. Yes. What?
Where then we're going to put our heads down, and then we're going to pick somebody else, and then they're going to pick them until we all got picked.
I love that idea. Can we stay till 4, Barb? Okay. Yes. Because it does spread, and that was the whole idea of the pay it forward. I mean, the concept is amazing. It's, you know, one person does something for 3 people, those 3 people go and do something for 3 other people, those 3 people do for, and all of a sudden, like, the mathematical equation is beyond what my mind can comprehend. And so, yes, we could do this all day and everyone would be picked. It would be beautiful. But, and generally when you play the game in class, that's what happens. Whose ever thumb was picked, they get to go up and pick the next people, and it's a sweet game. But I just wanted to play enough of it so that you could feel what it feels like to walk around in the world, perhaps, as someone who maybe feels invisible. And maybe they don't feel invisible. Maybe they look like they have it all together. But at our core, there's something about us that says, I want to be seen. I want to be noticed. I want to engage in this world with another person. And so kindness doesn't have to be, paying for someone's college tuition. It doesn't have to be leaving a $100 tip with your server. It can simply be seeing that person and making eye contact. It can be smiling. We're just noticing the people around us. And as our friend at that table would say, Christian or Catholic customer service. Yes, let that be our customer service. Just because we work for God, we want to see His people. We want to notice His people. We want to look into their eyes, because their eyes are the windows to the soul, and they're going to show us how that person's doing. And maybe there's nothing we can do to help that person in their current problem, but we can tell them we're here. We can notice them. I'd like you to write down now. So you have your pieces of paper. I'd like you to flip it over to the blank side. And I'd like you to write down 2 moments of kindness. One of them is something that you did for someone else. And the other one is something someone did for you. So 2 moments of kindness. And you don't need to write long paragraphs about them. You're not turning it in, but you are going to share with your table. So take a moment and think about an act of kindness you've done for someone else. And again, like we just said, pick me. An act of kindness doesn't have to be anything amazing or, this wonderful thing happened. It's just simply a time when we notice someone else or when someone else noticed us. We're going to take about 3 minutes for you to think of that and jot a little note down so you can remember it. And then we're going to share in our groups, and then we're going to share a few as a large group. Done writing and thinking, would you just set your pen down so the other people in your table know when everyone is done? And when everyone at your table has their pen down and everyone's had a chance to think and process this, when all the pens on your table are down, then you can start by discussing with each other. And you can choose whether you want to share the act of kindness you did or the one somebody did for you, but go around your table and everybody share one of those 2 stories, please. Okay. Publicly share. Sure.
I'm Miranda, and I'm rehabbing from an accident. And so in between chiropractic and massage, I've been going to the hot tub quite a bit over at Avera Fitness. And that takes me to the hot tub early in the morning, sometimes late at night. And my husband always said you should offer up your pain. And so now I have 2 bulging discs in my neck, and I get tight and it hurts. And so I decided that I would offer it up, and the women in the hot tub, I'm a really good chatty chat girl. I'm not a very good listener. I decided that I would listen to the women in the hot tub. I know more about Ramadan from the Muslim women, and a lot of times, if there's a gal who's Asian, whose mom doesn't speak English, we had the most delightful conversation, and her mother was thrilled that somebody was actually asking about her, because she doesn't speak a lot of English. And so it's gotten to be the joke that when I come home, my husband will say, "So what'd you learn in the hot tub?" And it's kind of outside my comfort zone because number 1, I'm naked. And number 2, there's a lot of different cultures that are coming through there. And the other day I went home and I was just a little bit piqued. And he said, "What's up?" And I said, "Well, these 4 beautiful women got in there and they totally ignored the woman in the corner like she didn't exist. Like she wasn't even there." He said, "Why?" I said, "I don't know. Do you think it because she weighed maybe 320, she was black and she didn't have any teeth?" And he said, "What?" And I said, so I asked about her. She was this beautiful woman, and she shared how she was one of like 14 kids. She shared about her mother and the end-of-life care that she gave her mother. She shared about how she got her kids through school. She shared about her son works at McCross and Boys Ranch. She shared about how she's an RN. And these women, they sat up and they listened to her. And I thought, maybe I can offer it up, and maybe I can be just a little kinder, and maybe I can learn a little bit. And the women from the Ukraine, and let me tell you, the people who work at John Morrell's, they come in there and they're interesting. And now that they've changed their name, my 10-year-old granddaughter, because they make that funny little swirl with their H, she calls it Smithy Fields. There's a lot of good stories out of those places.
Makes a really interesting point about the other women in the hot tub who carried on with their conversation and didn't include the other woman. We cannot control anyone else's behavior. God never ever intended us to be the judge and jury. So we don't ever have to worry about pointing out someone else's bad behavior, unless it's a situation of bullying or where someone really is out of line. Then we can stand up in kindness. But otherwise, it's not our jobs to be the judge and jury of other people, how they speak or what they talk about. And I've found in my own life that our behavior is enough for them to see that when we overflow with hope, when we overflow with goodness and kindness and those things, people around us who may act differently, they will notice. And they will yearn for that. They will yearn for the Holy Spirit to empower them, overflow in them. And so we don't have to worry and even get angry about the people who are just doing their own thing, because we can be a light that shines so brightly in the dark that, the dark can never extinguish it anyway. So we can be that light for people without ever saying a word. Tell me about someone else who wants to share an act of kindness. Yes, okay.
This just happened this morning, and it was very simple. I was getting out of my car. I came kind of early. Andrea was going out to her car to get something. She sees I'm kind of old and gray-haired, and she comes and said, "Those steps are slippery now, so be careful." And then she walked up the steps with me.
Hi, Andrea. Aww. Did she say you were old and gray? That's good. All right, good. In my household, I have 3 small children. Well, I have a teenager, 2 teenagers, and a 9-year-old. So they will now, they tease me because when we're talking about something, I always ask about their act of kindness, but when we're out and about and something happens and someone holds the door or says a compliment, I will yell, "Kindness!" You know, I kind of sing it, "Kindness!" And so now my children, when they notice something, even if I'm not the one who's pointing it out, they will go, "Kindness!" And of course they're being sarcastic, but they get it. They see the kindness happening around them, and that's all I ask. Okay, do we have time to do one more story, do you think? Or do you want to give away? Okay, one more.
After I was widowed, a friend called who's the age of our daughter and asked if her kids could come and rake my leaves. And I said, well, the man across the street does it, and I'd pay him. And she said, well, they would like to do it. And I said, well, okay. I said, you know, I feel bad being the little old lady help project. And she said, you would be doing me a favor because you would be helping in the moral development of my children. Well, you can't really turn that down. So they came, and while they were raking leaves, the neighbors saw them raking leaves and baked cookies and brought cookies over to the kids raking my leaves. And so kindness begets kindness. And these kids now come and clean my porch, clean my garage, put up my Christmas tree. And this family friendship has been going on for 90 years.
All right, I just have one last little thing that I want to make sure that just came into my head as you were talking. Because you are women, and you are doers, and you are givers, I want to tell you about my friend Tammy. She's bipolar and suicidal. And she has served in the armed forces. She is tough as nails, and yet when those dark clouds come in, it brings her to her knees. And so Tammy has gotten into the habit, when she feels the dark cloud come in, to call someone, anyone, and say, I'm heading to the grocery store, can I get anything for you? Or, you know, I'd love to take your kids out for ice cream tonight, would that be okay with you? Tammy's not asking to help you. Tammy's asking to help herself. And so it can be so hard as women to say yes to kindness. Please, please don't steal. You may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Almighty God, we praise you for creating us in and for kindness. We thank you for filling us with all joy and peace. Help us to leave the comfort of our routines during this Lenten season. May we overflow in hope by the power of the Holy Spirit, so those around us who do not yet know you may also have hope. In Jesus' powerful name, amen. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I think, let's give her one more round of applause. As long as Nicole is still up here, I just have a couple things for her. I think Brooke mentioned it earlier that 2020 has been our year to designate as Inspiring Hope, and so we just want you to have one of these shirts, and this actually goes with her colors, because her shirt is that color too, so thank you for being an inspiration and a hope provider. And then I have a kindness worry rock for you too. So. And I just have a few other thank yous, and then we do have our door prizes, so if everybody, does everybody have their little tickets in the basket over here? We'll, Carly, will you, yeah. Carly will come around and grab them if you don't have them in there yet. You just want to hold it up. And while she's doing that, I will just go through my thank yous. I've had some, I don't do this myself, so I just want to thank the girls that are with me today, Brooke and Jen. You saw Brooke earlier, and Jen and Carrie Hansen is down from Aberdeen today, and Taryn, who is our intern, just a couple weeks here. She's been our intern, and so she'll be helping with the last part of the spring season and preparing for Cinco de Mayo. So I just want to express my gratitude because I couldn't do it without you and setting up and everything, and so it's a team effort for sure. And I do want to thank Mary Eiley again and Jan Lenz. I know they're in here somewhere, but they were instrumental in helping yesterday and today with registration, and I greatly appreciate your help as well. I also want to thank Harley, who's walking back over there. She came and met me here. She is my son's girlfriend, so we chose to spend the day together, and she's a special part of my kindness story. And so I'm glad that you're here. But on top of that note, I see the young kids here, and I think it's so powerful that that's the generation that's going to lead kindness for us. And they're going to be the hope providers that are carrying on the stories that Nicole shared today and that you shared. They've got it in their heart, they know. And I think that's very, very powerful that the kids are grabbing onto that. So thank you, Grandma, for bringing the girls. And thank you, Harley, for coming. But let's do those more prizes. So Sharon, maybe you help, Harley, will you help? We'll get this going quickly so we get you out of here. Everybody's got their names in the bucket? We've got some great pieces here. A friend of mine does pottery in Aberdeen, and so she has done these unique, I'm rocking hope right now. These unique pieces, and some of them do have the logo on them for today, the Creating Kindness and Inspired by Hope. So it'll be a reminder to you when you see these things that you spent the morning with us and you learned so much about kindness and hope. So we're just going to start picking things, and when you hear your name, just raise your hand and the girls will take stuff out for you. So I'll mix things up here. Don't be shy. All right, Robin Fitch. And I'm glad you came because I got your number late yesterday, so I couldn't get a hold of you, so I'm glad you just came. It doesn't matter, just grab. Yeah, just that's okay. And that unique piece is actually a spoon holder for your stove. So, Paulette Fisher. Just go ahead, oh, there we go, back over here. Sean Costello. The Millbank ladies want me to shake them up. Angela Corbo-Geyer. There you go. You just want me to shake them until I call your name. I'll try to do better. There you go. Kate Summerbold. Rand. Kathy Janatter. Donna Reisdorf. Kathleen Graham. Bev Peterson. Bev Peterson. Oh, right there. Dee Dee Blake. And the t-shirts that she's handing out, they are, you can pick a size. I've got some other sizes, so just come to me in the back and we can get you set up. But these are some of our shirts. They say "Not words but deeds" by the founders of the Presentation Sisters. So people will question you when you wear these. We get questioned a lot, and I had mine on one day, and the lady from down in Arizona actually asked me about Nano Nagel and said, "I know Nano Nagel," and so she had heard the story, and in the grocery store we had a little conversation about Nano and the sisters, and so, all right. Do a couple more t-shirts. Patricia Pat Clifford. One more t-shirt. Susan Niemeyer. Ellen Krell. And Mila Lemke. And then we do have a couple of Nicole's books to give away as well. One's of Nicole on the Indian. Lois Fisher. Lois Fisher. Hey, Linda.
Your name gets pulled up.
It's all over if I pulled her name. Judy Hansen. Well, we have concluded our day, but I hope that you were touched by Nicole's stories and just her words and her goodness, and I hope that you will take that with you and be kindness champions and hope providers for those that you come in contact today. So safe travels as you venture back home, and thank you so much for joining us today.